Good evening. I'd like to call this,
Uh-oh.
please hold.
Board head now.
We got
Somehow there's the wires crossed.
We are good to go, Stanley, but obviously we have cross connection problems.
That's next door.
Next door.
The updated, quote, updated things that I had.
It might be. All right, I'm just gonna pause this and mute us for a moment. Okay. Those of you online for the TPZ meeting, having some technical difficulties right now, crossing rooms, please hang in there. Thank you.
Honoring Newington Hall monitors, September 24th, 2025. Whereas Wednesday, September 24th, 2025 has been proclaimed as Hall Monitors Appreciation Day. And whereas the Newington Public School System is committed to honoring its hall monitors and recognizing their contributions to the school system. And whereas the hall monitors work and interact effectively with high school students, faculty, staff, and visitors. And whereas the hall monitors assist students, staff, and visitors and help ensure safety inside the building. And whereas it is the desire of the Board of Education
the academics in just
All
the
right, everyone
classroom.
online,
It really
thank
is a
you for
school
hanging in
and
there.
so
Still
forth,
having
so
technical difficulties, but
congratulations
we're
to you
gonna
all,
try to
and
get the
thank you.
meeting going
Miss
momentarily.
Weaver is just getting back from New
Go
York,
from
so.
there. Thank you for your patience.
Um,
Pound sign again.
Test.
Well, I can hear you on test.
I muted his audio. Okay. Just trying to hear what Paul, I don't know, I'm trying to hear what Paul's dealing with. Just so you know, our mics are live, so. There's a still charging. I can hear you too. Thank you. See if that's enough charge on it to make it through. Call Best Buy and get the, don't you have to call Best Buy and get the boot guys out there? Come out anytime on that. And their Beetle. All right. I muted your mic. Yes. Let's give it a try. Are we unmuted? We are unmuted, yes. All right, just making sure you can hear us online. Chris Bennett.
I can hear you.
Thumbs up from Bennett, and Chris said yes, so. Can't tell what we're picking up online.
We should be good though. You want
Yep.
to go ahead and call the meeting to order, Stanley. Sorry.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the September 24th, 2025 meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Noreen, can we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Fox,
Here.
Commissioner Murphy,
Here.
Commissioner Minor,
Here.
Commissioner Navis, Commissioner Pascarelli, Chairman Sobieski,
Here.
Commissioner Woods,
Here.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Here.
Commissioner Wakana.
Here.
Okay, I'd like to seek Commissioner Hoffman for Commissioner Pascarelli and Commissioner Coma for Commissioner Nafis. Thank you. Approval of the agenda, Paul?
No changes?
All right, this is going to be the first round of public participation for items that are not listed on the agenda. Please state your name and address for the record when you come up.
No one online has their hand raised, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone in the room? Okay. Remarks by commissioners. None? Okay, thank you. Want to read the first public hearing?
Yep. So, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like to, I can just, since we have one public hearing that's still continued, from last month, I think I'll just take care of reading in the notice, for the
Okay.
other two public hearings that will be tonight. So note Newington Town Plan and Zoning Commission notice of public hearing September 24th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Notice is hereby given that the Newington Town Plan and Zoning Commission would hold the public hearing in Council Chambers Room 103, Town Hall, 200 Garfield Street on Wednesday, September 24th, 2025 to consider the following petitions. Petition PPZ 2518, special permit 3.15.6 for a place of physical activity for a personal training facility at 2434 Unit 9 Berlin Turnpike in the BBT zone. Business Berlin Turnpike, application Revolution Sports Club LLC, owner Trans Berlin Corporation, contact Robert Mayberg. Petition TPZ 2519, modification of special permits 0418 and 1318 to allow live entertainment within an existing recreational use with alcoholic beverage sales permitted pursuant to NZR sections 3.17.6 and 6.6 at 80 Fen Road in the I industrial zone. Applicant Montana Knights Newington LLC, contact Stephen Jolly, owner Fen Road 80 LLC. This public hearing will be a Zoom webinar hybrid meeting. Information on how to attend will be posted on the town's website at link follows. These petitions and related material are available for public inspection at the town planner's office, town hall. Town hall, town planning is town hall room 204, and through the published agenda at the town planning zoning agenda center. Link follows. Person who require an accommodation to participate in this public hearing should contact the town planner at 860-665-8578 or town planner at newingtonct.gov, not less than 24 hours before the public hearing. Submitted Paul Dixon, town planner. It ran September 11th and September 18th, and the signs were up. So that is for the two additional hearings. And again, there is one hearing for TPZ 2516 that is still open.
This one here. Petition A.
Petition TPZ 25-16, site plan for a 40-unit rental apartment home development under CGS 830G, affordable housing application at 220, 226, 244 Kitts Lane and 226 Kitts Lane rear in the BBT Business Berlin Turnpike Zone. Owner applicant Kitts Lane Apartments LLC, contact Timothy Hollister. Application received 7/9/2025, 65 days to open public hearing by 9/12/2025. Hearing opened 8/27/2025. Hearing continued to 9/24/2025.
Mr. Chairman, I would say I have handed out, I do have two peer reviewers online tonight to discuss the traffic report and an acoustic review of the site. They are online. The applicant has indicated that they would like to address you first to talk about updates to the plan. And again, I do have the two online just to let you know.
Okay, thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Andrew Moran. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Pinkley Allen, Hartford, Connecticut, on behalf of the applicant, Kitts Lane Apartments LLC. You'll notice I have the same team joining me as the last public hearing on August 27th. Now we filed a second supplemental materials package on September 16th. The package really addresses questions and concerns that were raised by the commission, staff, and the fire chief at the August 27th public hearing. And the purpose of this presentation is just to go through those answering the questions and the revisions. So briefly, just to start off, because it was brought up at the last public hearing, is another request for a T2 survey. Now, we did submit a memo from Mr. Tarbox, who's our land surveyor, at tab 2 of our September package. He explains that the aerial data was obtained from a company called Golden Aerial Surveys. And the aerial data that he observed was consistent with the conditions as he observed in the field. Using aerial data to evaluate topographic conditions, formerly known as aerial photogrammetry, is common, and it's permitted by Connecticut standards and suggested methods and procedures for surveys and maps. His credentials, he briefly opined in the memo. We believe our field survey accurately shows topographic conditions. And you may recall me saying at the last hearing that staff did mention areas of concern along Kitts Lane and the southern property line where the grades are a bit steeper. Our surveyor did go back to those areas and collect additional field data, so that should be resolved. And finally, on that point, again, we're dealing with 830G. We don't think there's a substantial public health or safety concern associated with not submitting a T2 survey. Second, sound from 266 Kitts Lane. At the public hearing, staff submitted copies of Newington and Deep sound ordinances and highlighted provisions stating that sound generated from OSHA required backup alarms and construction are exempt. You might recall me addressing previous sound concerns with the fact that, you know, we're entitled to a presumption that our neighbor isn't going to create a public nuisance and generate sound that exceeds those standards. So there's two exemptions that were brought to light at the public hearing. The first, construction exemption, it does not apply. It refers to sound generated from the process of erecting and demolishing structures during the daytime hours. This work is temporary, and our neighbor to the south is not a construction site. It's a scrapyard and it's used to park construction vehicles, but it's not an active construction site. So the owner must comply with the sound ordinances. The second, sound from OSHA required backup alarms. These may be exempt, but you know, residential uses frequently coexist with other uses that necessitate vehicles using, you know, OSHA backup alarms. People live in mixed use developments. They live in neighborhoods serviced by snow plows, delivery vehicles, garbage trucks. So the fact that OSHA required backup alarms are exempt is not unique to our disposition in our property. Now, there was submitted in the record a report by Brooks Acoustics. It suggests that vehicles observed in the yard on the Google or the aerial image, he observed light trucks and dump trucks. He said they're likely stored on the property, driven to construction site during the day, then returned to the property to be stored at night. And per the report, the sound from the trucks is going to be infrequent and limited duration. And it's a quote from the report says, "It's expected that the equipment in the construction yard are not typically used for prolonged periods of time." So we're talking with, you know, sound of limited frequency and duration. The report does not identify a substantial threat to public health and safety warranting denial. It states that the units along the southern property line 23 through 31 are potentially, and I emphasize that word potentially, subject to the greatest impact from noise. It does not specify what that impact would be or how the sound from those backup alarms would cause a substantial public health or safety risk. In other words, the fact that sound is audible doesn't necessarily mean that's going to cause some sort of injury. Last, the report is a quote desktop study that appears to evaluate sound from different types of machinery in general and is not specific to the site to our south. And just the bottom line on that is the report contains no evidence that would justify a denial under your section 8-30G standards. Nevertheless, we have reviewed in the report 5 proposed mitigation strategies with respect to sound, and we have addressed each one. I want to just briefly remark on that. So the first was to provide a sound barrier wall between the residences and the construction equipment yard. Now, we originally showed an 8-foot wall, an 8-foot tall wooden stockade fence. We would agree as a condition of approval to changing that proposed fence to a sound barrier fence using different materials with a face weight of at least 4 pounds per square foot. So to make it a sound barrier fence rather than a wooden stockade to address that concern. The second strategy was use an architectural layout for the townhouse apartments that places more noise sensitive rooms such as bedrooms and living rooms further away from the south side of the units and our neighbor to the south. The report acknowledges our design currently implements that strategy. Our living rooms and bedrooms face the street and the kitchen and bathrooms face the south. The third strategy provided upgraded sound isolating architectural wall assembly materials for the south-facing facades. We would agree as a condition of approval to use soundproof brand Roxel sound insulation or equivalent materials for the south-facing facades of the units 23 through 31. So in other words, soundproofing materials on the southern facing facades to further attenuate sound. And the fourth and fifth mitigation strategies are quite similar. They speak to using minimum fenestration, the layout and arrangement of windows, and that the windows on the south side of the units and the glass sliding doors that are shown on our elevations use higher sound isolation rating materials. It's important to note that the report has no concern with the proposed layout or amount of windows on our southern facade. But we would agree to a condition of approval that the windows and the sliding doors along the facade of the units 23 through 31 be double glazed, meaning 2 panes of glass separated by a sealed space. So we've addressed all the mitigation strategies that are proposed in the report. And we believe it'll be a good thing for our future tenants. Joining me is Mr. Daniel Ville, who'll discuss some responses to concerns raised by the fire chief about fire truck access to the site.
For the record, Dan Ville from Zuvik, a licensed engineer in the state of Connecticut on behalf of the applicant. So in our last meeting and in our last commission meeting and a meeting with the fire chief, we reviewed the following concerns: that the overhang of fire vehicles and the wheel paths may cross the curbs. We have addressed that comment with the fire chief. We've made the majority of the curb mountable in the areas of concern. We also propose park curbing in the turnaround areas to prevent any damage to his apparatus. So we would request as a condition of approval that the park curbing and the mountable curb be acceptable. The fire trucks are able to maneuver through the site according to that turning plan without running into the curbs. It is just an extra measure that we offer to give the fire chief and his staff peace of mind. I think that's it for the turning movements. Then regarding the snow storage areas, we have revised the snow storage areas to mitigate the possibility of icy conditions in their vicinity. On the landscaping plan, there's a note 6C added. Sorry. On the landscaping plan, 6C was added. Particular care shall be taken to maintain emergency access. Snow shall not be allowed to accumulate immediately adjacent to the hammerhead turnaround locations to allow for fire truck overhang. Fire hydrants shall be fully cleared for access. Sidewalks shall be kept clear to maintain additional clear width along interior roadways for emergency access and maneuvering. So we do not anticipate any maneuverability issues resulting from snow storage areas with those changes. The third concern that we addressed was turnaround of the fire and emergency vehicles at the south side of the site. We provided a second profile, which the fire chief reviewed, and he brought forth the additional concern that there may not be enough clearance at the critical point in the vertical curve. So we propose to revise the grading again and would request respectfully a conditional approval where we would provide no less than 8 inches of vertical clearance at all points along the vertical curve to satisfy the fire chief's need for maneuverability with his apparatus. In my professional opinion, those changes can be made and this development can be built without adverse impact to public health and safety.
And Mr.
So can you define park curb? What's a park curb? I know a mountable curb, but what's a park curb?
historically, you might be familiar with concrete curbs, which have a vertical face only, or bituminous lip curbing, which has just a diagonal face. Park curbing has a smaller height, and it also has a bevel, a 45-degree bevel. Yes, similar objective, yeah.
I would consider that a mountable curb.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And Mr. Versteeg is gonna come up and address more maneuverability concerns. Mr. Dixon, can you go to Paul four, four, yeah.
Thank you. Excuse me. Good evening. For the record, my name is Joe Versteeg, principal in Versteeg Associates, independent consulting firm, specialized in building and fire code compliance, retained by the applicant. You have my September 11th, excuse me again, memorandum of fall allergies are killing me, excuse me. My September 11th memorandum to the committee, where we addressed two topics: fire lane width that was raised last time, and I thought addressed, but we reaffirmed it in writing, and ladder access to the bedroom windows. As was stated before, the lane width, the roadway width within the property is 20 feet in width, which is the minimum required by the Connecticut Fire Safety Code for a fire department vehicle access, if in fact it was required, which, as you know, under the International Residential Code, there are no requirements for fire department vehicle access. So those rules are not applicable, but we did comply with them anyway. The reason that the code requires a 20-foot minimum is based on the fact that the Connecticut general statutes and the federal rules limit the width of a vehicle, any vehicle, unless it's placarded as oversized, to 8 foot 6 inches, and with a maximum vehicle width of 8 foot 6 inches and a road width of 20 feet. The reason the 20 foot is there is to allow opposing traffic, two-way traffic, and also allow for fire department vehicles, one truck to be engine, fire department apparatus to be parked and operating, and allow another truck to overtake it and pass and get by to the other side. So there's, and also you have to remember that fire trucks are emergency vehicles under the general statutes. And anytime they have their lights and sirens operating, the motoring public has to pull to the right and yield right away. So if anybody was stubborn enough to kind of be a blockage, the rules, the statute takes over. As far as ladder access, there is a requirement within the residential code that each bedroom have one operable, what they call emergency escape and rescue opening. If you're at ground level, usually it's a door. I'd rather walk through a door than climb out a window. So it allows the door, but it also allows a window. And that's required from each sleeping room. There are specific size requirements within the code that we've met for height and width and opening. There's also a requirement in the code for where the window sill can be located in relationship to the floor. Certainly, if it's too high above the floor, it's of no value to a person inside the room. So we are compliant with that. But there is no requirement for sill height on the exterior of the building to grade. Could be at first floor, could be at second, could be the fifth floor. There's no requirement for that. And there's also no requirement for the adjoining grade outside the building. Could be concrete, it could be swamp, it could be a steep slope. There are absolutely no requirements for adjoining grade outside the window. But that said, we have provided you a schematic where we've taken the floor plans and identified every one of the bedrooms with colored dots. And you will see on the attachment A that was provided that emergency escape and rescue openings at the front of each building, red colored dots, are accessible by ground ladders, fire department ground ladders, and or an aerial truck. And that the emergency escape rescue openings at the rear of each building in blue colored dots are accessible by ground ladders from grade level And openings at the rear of units of 3, 4, 5, and 6 are also accessible by an aerial truck. And you can see from the map that there are units that have decks that are about 3 feet above the finished grade, AFG. And at the rear of other units, the decks are about 5 feet above finished grade. So they are accessible from by ground ladders and fire department apparatus for rescue purposes, should it be necessary. Again, as before, it's still my professional opinion that this residential development does not result in an adverse impact to substantial public interest in health, welfare, or safety. Thank you.
Do you have a question, sir?
Yes.
You stated that the truck is 8 foot 6 inches wide.
Yes.
That's the base of the truck. What about the mirrors?
Yeah, that's not usually not counted.
I understand it's not counted, but I guess my question is, it's been a long time since I drove a truck. I
Yeah.
did that back in 1970.
Yep.
The mirrors protrude outside the body of the truck. So
Right.
my question is, if I've got one truck that's sitting here and it's 8'6", and that mirror, I'm gonna say is about a foot come out off the edge of the door.
Okay.
All right, so that's 9'6".
Yeah.
The other truck coming down the other way is gonna be the same thing. It's gonna be very close passing.
Yeah.
That's one question I have. So I understand with the monoblock curbing, the trucks can go over the top. You know, with the, because I used to work for DOT, so I know what monoblock curbing is. So my question is there any way you could make that road a foot wider or 2 feet wider? Because I looked at the plans earlier and I wasn't here the last time, I was sick, but I did review this thing 3 times on YouTube. And I got a little confused between apartments and residential, but that's. Okay.
Dan,
Yeah.
you go.
Right.
So regarding the widening of the road, Dan, Phil, for the record, we spoke with the fire chief also about adding concrete aprons on the inner ring, the inner units. You could tell me the unit numbers maybe. So where the concrete sidewalk crosses the driveways, we've created a 5-foot mountable apron and it'll be reinforced to support the weight of the vehicle. So we've added effectively the 5 feet.
So my question is, maybe I'm saying it wrong, is that if the truck is sitting in the roadway, okay, curb, one tire against the curb, and it's 8'6", and the mirror overhangs another foot, that's 9'6" this way.
Mhm.
Another truck coming down the other way is gonna be 9'6", it's gonna be very close to passing. That's my question. I looked at the plans earlier and I saw on one side of the road, you had 20 feet in front cars to park, and on the other side, you had 22 feet. That's what I was asking. If you were to take and move that to 22 feet to 20 feet, then you would have enough room. That's all I was asking.
The
And-
objective there was to keep vehicles from overhanging the sidewalk. I think, depending on which. It's 20.
Would shorten the driveways.
I
It would
see.
shorten the driveway on, and what, just on the
Typical,
south side, I believe it is.
sure. So a typical parking space is 18 feet long, but what is missing from those 18 feet is a lot of the longer vehicles, like the pickup trucks that people drive today, typically will overhang the curb. So to have a driveway that's less than 20 feet is not.
Well, no, I'm saying, if I'm reading these plans correctly, and I could be wrong, it says on page, the site plan. So go to the site plan, you'll see the units on the top, I believe it's units 38 to 21. The driveway is 20 feet long. Okay? On the side, the other side, and this is where I get a little confused, is the other side is, the vehicle driveway is 22 feet long.
The difference in the northern part of the driveway from the southern driveway, you're saying?
It's the same road, it's just the north side of the road and the south side of the road. That's all I was asking.
Yeah, if it varies,
It's 20 feet on the side where the sidewalk is, and it's 22 feet where there's no sidewalk. It's,
I think,
Right, it's 20 feet where the sidewalk is, correct. On the other side, you got 22 feet. So I'm saying, is there a possibility of moving that road 2 feet this way? If you say no, it's no. I'm just asking.
I think it's not. I think what you end up with then is a likelihood that a vehicle will overhang into the street. A parked vehicle in a driveway will overhang into the travelway, which you really don't want.
Okay. So I know that you're gonna,
Hold on. If it works on the, Commissioner Hoffman here, if the 21 feet work
20 feet.
or 20 feet works on one side and you had to go 22 feet on the other, what's to stop somebody with a very long vehicle from parking in the 20 feet? They'd be overhanging. I mean,
The concern is overhanging into a travelway, not overhanging into a pedestrian,
into a what?
into a pedestrian area like a sidewalk.
Okay, thank you.
That's all. So I was questioning because it didn't make too much sense to me. That's all.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Commissioner Fox.
On the same vein as Chairman Sobieski is talking about, but not the mirrors. I'm just as much concerned about our platform truck or ladder truck and the space that it takes, the width especially. I know, as you said, the mistake of the everything is done, you know, to requirements, and everything adheres to the requirements. But I don't know when those regulations were installed, number one. Number two, even if they're installed recently, these trucks, especially trucks like our ladder truck, are constantly getting bigger, wider. Now, on one of you know, we had especially had to use the ladder truck at any one of the curves. Will there be enough room for the pedestals out there, out from the additional 8 feet, 6, out further another 8 feet? You know, would there still be enough room for apparatus trying to get out the other way to come by? Will they be able to, you know, put those pedestals on concrete rather than on any you know, pervious surface? And you know, and what about the grades? It doesn't look like, from what I've seen on the, you know, on the plans, that, you know, the grades are not conducive to a safe setting up, you know, of a ladder truck.
So there's a couple of questions there, but what I heard was, can the vehicles navigate the curves? And are the vehicles affected by the vertical curve of the road, the vertical geometry of the road? The turning plan you see before you, which is turning sheet 1, shows that the design vehicle, which the town provided the data for, can navigate from the front of the site to the rear and make a 3-point turn around and park. So that's what's displayed here. And it's the full-size large truck that the town of Newington owns today. That's based on the measurements that the fire marshal gave me. I believe that vehicle is as wide as it can be. I don't think there can be a vehicle larger than that permitted on the road. So the other question about vertical curvature, that is addressed on sheet turn 2. And we created a profile at the critical point in the property where there's a steeper grade and a sag curve. And what we determined in meeting with the fire chief was there is some additional clearance needed. And we will address the grading at that point to satisfy his request, that there will be a minimum of 8 inches of vertical clearance under the truck, under the design vehicle, at all points along that curve.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, for a minute.
And
You're talking
Commissioner,
at the hammerhead here, right? Okay, I just want to make sure I was clear on that. That's all. All right,
Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman,
Murphy.
Commissioner Minor has also had his
Oh,
hand raised.
I'm
for
sorry,
a while.
Commissioner Minor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to back up what Commissioner Fox was referring to, the outriggers on all three pieces, we have three aerial trucks in Newington. We have a mid-mount rear basket, we have a rear mount forward basket, and we have a rear mount ladder. So all three of those pieces have different variant turning styles based on driving, and I've driven all three. My biggest concern from the original presentation to where we are currently now in the design phase is there is no way for an engine to pass on that narrow of a road should the outriggers already be set in place. And with not allowing full flow from the opposing direction, you have now basically blocked that off with no way around. I have concerns about the width, and I don't know if we'd be able to accomplish it on widening a mere few feet. So you are not going to allow for an engine to pass that aerial once it has been set up. So I have grave concerns on that. The hammerheads as they are right now, all three of our trucks will profile those hammerheads differently based on overhangs. So if you're looking at one that's being supported by the fire marshal's office on giving you our current configuration, which truck are they giving you? Because two of the three will respond to that complex as first due apparatus, and the third will respond in a backup capacity. And my final comment to that is we have a new truck that is coming in for replacement that is beginning the build process over the next 12 to 18 months. That again is not going to be any smaller in all likelihood. And between width, length, and weight, I have concerns with accessibility throughout that complex being so tight. I'd be open to your comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Minor, go ahead, please.
First off, and I'll let Mr. Versteeg correct me if I'm wrong and add, but the code requires 20 feet. And that's what we've provided.
That's the minimum, am I correct?
Yes, Joe. Okay, so that's my first point.
Mhm.
The second is we've actually amended the curbing along the areas he's referred to as tight to provide fire trucks room. If again, we think both can pass safely, but if there's to add more room for comfort, a fire truck can go onto the curb and onto the sidewalk to avoid the potential for mirrors clashing. So we've specifically amended our plans to accommodate that. The third, and it's my job here tonight, is just to remind the commission of our 830G purview here. We're talking about the possibility of, again, the theoretical possibility of mirrors clashing and touching. The commission's purview under 830G is to identify substantial public health and safety risks. If the road was 10 foot wide and it was mathematically impossible for two fire trucks to pass each other, maybe. But if we're talking about mirrors touching each other when they're going back and forth, I don't think that rises to a warranting denial under 8-30G. Mr. Versteeg, did I miss anything with respect to the code?
No, the comment also addressed, what if the ladder truck got there and established its outriggers? The width of the remaining portion of the road would prevent another vehicle from passing. And that's quite possible. And that's why it's always an operational consideration that you pre-plan. If this happens, then what do we do? Where does that truck go? Do we raise the ladder and set the riggers? Do we drive it in farther? Do we let the engine go in first? Those are operational concerns. And they're not addressed by the code because as you have a 20-foot wide minimum road, perfectly acceptable.
Well,
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Minor.
Yeah, thank you. We're not referring to rubbing mirrors. That is not a consideration to this conversation whatsoever. The issue that I have is with the outriggers in place to allow for safe operation of that aerial. The width on those is going to put you well in excess of 12 feet. To allow for an engine to pass in the event of an equipment failure or for whatever other reason there may be, that being as narrow as it is, does not conducively allow for two pieces to go by each other. If you have vehicles that are parked in the driveways of these units, overhanging them, you have now further restricted the allowed passage between the vehicles. That is my concern. It's not about rubbing mirrors. It's allowing for safe operation of the equipment as well as safe alliance to allow for vehicles to get in a life safety concern. That is my concern.
Thank you, Commissioner Minor.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Harvey.
Go ahead, sir. I won't cut you off. Did you want to say something?
No, no.
Here's what I think is kind of a paradoxical situation. We have Griswold, housing or rentals in the same area. We have Glen Oaks in the same area, and then there's another small condominium. Royal Villas is on the other side of town. It was built many years ago when fire trucks, I believe, were smaller. So my question is, even if we find a warm spot on the acceptance of the trucks in terms of their width or where they land up, what happens over time? It must be, is it grandfathered at some point in time? Maybe the fire marshal has to answer that. I mean, as the size of the trucks and the vehicles come in, they may no longer be applicable at the Griswold. I'm not saying they are. I'm not going to create a panic for those people. I'm just saying it's conceivable that we would have an issue there. But I am only speaking in reference to your project. There's seems to be a lot of information, and I respect Mr. Minor's opinion, but I also would want to speak to the marshal or someone over there and get their feelings on the dimensions before, we take these thoughts to heart. And I appreciate what you're saying. I'm just trying to put it
No,
down.
I understand. The fire safety code for fire lanes is not a retroactive document. So you would build to the current standard, keeping in mind that if you ask the fire marshal, what he'll tell you is that in section 101.2 of his code, that the fire safety code doesn't apply to townhouses. So, but if this were a 25-story high rise, the same requirements would be applicable, 20-foot wide roadway. And these are not because it's unique to Connecticut, but Connecticut adopts the National Fire Protection Association standard and the International Fire Code standard. And these are requirements that are applied nationwide. And they're developed by organizations that the technical committees that have members from the National Fire Chiefs, fire marshals, building owners, fire truck manufacturers. So every philosophy is represented in the technical committee and the use of the rules.
I mean, part of my concern is there are some condominiums that were built, as you say, a number of years ago that have one way out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There are others that do have them, but they're few in between.
Right.
And, that's a concern because if everybody's trying to sail out of a situation, it can get messy.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, we have communities in New Haven, Hartford, Boston's a great example where the road width was based on carriages from the 1800s. So the fire department deals with them like a long driveway. So the engines assigned to that area don't carry 150 pre-connects. They carry 250s, 300s.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask two other points away from the fire issue. The T2 survey, which you could object to, are you adamant that you wouldn't have any interest in performing that?
Correct. We don't.
You're satisfied with the level 2, which was the flight over the area that you performed, or Mr. Tarbuck's performed. And then the supplemental one that he did, I'm not clear on what's involved in the supplemental. Do you have more specifics you can give us on that?
Yes. So we're going back to June, the start of the summer here. Staff expressed concern about the topography as shown in the southern part of the property and along Kitts Lane. Steeper grades were shown along the property line. So there was concern about the aerial data used for that. So we sent,
I mean, it's my understanding that T2 gives us a better sense of the history of the project. You know, how long that site has not been developed, the quality of the soil, those kinds of things. Did you do separate soil tests?
we have
Satisfied you?
soil mapping.
Or?
Our site plan includes soil mapping.
And my last quick question, Mr. Chair, if I might, the sight line, you're comfortable with not having crosswalk or lights there, at least from what I read in one of the reports that was sustaining your issues. So you guys are adamant about that as well?
We're going to discuss we've essentially agreed, our position is still that we don't need a four-way intersection there, but to address the commission's concerns, we would agree to a condition of approval to make it a four-way stop intersection. And Mr. Hesketh, our traffic engineer, is going to discuss the feasibility of how we would go about doing that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through the chairman. I just have one more comment to make on this subject here. And I'd like to preface it with saying that, you know, we've had 8-30G applicants before, and we've, so that, you know, we're a little bit, you know, familiar with affordable housing applications. I'm all for affordable housing. I'm all for people my age, you know, being able to stay in Newington in an affordable apartment or a small house or condo, rather than go looking for assisted living or anything and spending, you know, an enormous amount of money. At the same time, like Commissioner Minor, I'm retired. I'm a 20-some-odd year retiree of this department in Company One, the company that always presented the truck one. I have a lot of experience driving that, not the new one, although I'd love to. But you know, and so, you know, I'm pretty well versed in, you know, how it's used and everything. But mainly, I'm not only interested in the safety of the people, of the future residents of these apartments, and not only interested in the fact that a ground ladder can reach into a window. I'm also interested in the fact that maybe sills should go down, you know, be, you know, grade level, so older people can get out of there quickly, or handicapped people can get out of there. But I'm also interested in the safety of my fellow firefighters. There have been very, very few injuries. And we like to keep it that way. So we want to make sure that our equipment has you know, proper roadways, proper surfaces, proper space to operate. That is one of the main reasons why I'm asking these questions. So just wanted to state my position.
Yep. Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Minor also has his hand raised.
Commissioner Minor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one follow-up question as it was relating to noise abatement or noise concerns. You had referenced that you would be open to providing a sound barrier, noise barrier on the southern outline. You didn't indicate height. Is there a consideration to what the engineers feel is adequate for height on that? Because my concerns are with what you were referencing for noise, is that is an active contractor's construction yard. It's not a scrap yard or anything that they operate out of that property daily. And as it was referred to in the morning and the return in the evening, but they do also operate throughout the day. And being a snow removal contractor as well, I'm sure they're going to be operating at night beyond normal business hours. So what considerations are you offering for noise abatement on that southern plain?
We've proposed an 8-foot sound barrier fence. We've proposed noise attenuating materials to be used along the southern facades of those units. And the same goes for the windows as well. Double pane windows with insulation in between. So really, three measures to, attenuate sound, compounding on each other.
Okay,
Chairman,
just trying to verify the topography. I'm not looking at grades and elevations and topography. Is 8 foot going to be adequate enough to basically rise above the elevation of the resident windows? I'm just trying to get a handle on that.
It's not going to be enough to completely cover the unit, but again, with the other sound attenuation measures that we've proposed, we believe it's adequate.
Okay, thank you. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
and
Mr. Planner.
Attorney Moran, might be, if this would work for your flow right now too, if we could bring in Mr. Brooks, since we're kind of talking about noise right now, if that would work for you.
Yeah, that's right.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Can I just ask a question first?
Yes.
I have two, actually. One's for you, but the first one's for Attorney Moran. And Mr. Bestich? I just want to make sure that we're clear. When you spoke earlier, you said that the fire truck maximum, any vehicle, maximum width in the state of Connecticut without being placarded is 8'6". That, I believe, somehow got interpreted at this table that the fire trucks are 8'6". Everything that you submitted to us on your documents show the fire truck 8 feet. Okay, excluding the mirrors. So that they're 8 foot, not 8'6".
Right.
Okay. And then, Paul, to you, our regulations, I'm assuming state statutes, allow a road to be 20 foot wide for this type of development. Is that correct?
I would have to check the regulations specifically, and I can definitely get back to you on that one, but I would say I do not see anything that requires too much in the regulations. Most of those are actually either by the subdivision regulations or by the engineering details for the town of Newington.
So, I mean, where I'm trying to get at is if we allow people to build on a 20-foot roadway, then we can't sit in front and tell the applicant, well, no, we need to get our fire truck fast. We're talking 24, 26, 28, 30 foot roadway.
Right.
And, I don't think we can do that. But if you could find that out for me, I'd appreciate it.
I'd be absolutely happy to give you that information.
Any other questions? I'd like to also make a comment. I think this project is a good idea. I think it's just a little bit of tweaking, and as far as I'm concerned, it's a good spot for this type of development. I will share one thing with you. When I was on the commission before as a commissioner, we had people up on Church Terrace, which is off of Church Street, and the construction company started at 4:30 in the morning. And we were getting calls all over the place. So when they do start, they are loud in the wintertime. That's my concern. Other than that, any other questions? Any other comments?
There's someone else supposed to be coming up and talk to us.
Yep,
right?
no, I have,
Okay.
so
Noise,
again,
excuse me.
thank you, Attorney Moran, I think it's a good segue. And then I can respond to, so it's been handed out to all of you tonight as well. The applicant had it submitted to them earlier today, was received. So we have Ben Brooks, he's online tonight. You can actually stop sharing and get more of a larger picture going. Okay, so we have Bennett Brooks from Brooks Acoustic Corporation. What you have tonight is an acoustical review along with his CU. So Bennett is here, Mr. Chairman, and he kind of explain who he is and give his acoustic review of the property.
Please go ahead.
You may have to unmute yourself, Mr. Brooks.
Very
Hi,
good.
Bennett, can you hear us? Oh, yep, we can hear you now.
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight on this application review. We submitted a report today to Mr. Paul Dixon, and I believe you heard some of the items being mentioned in it. I'm not sure if you've had a chance to review it yet. It was a short time, so I apologize for that. But I'm happy to answer any questions. If you wish, I can walk through the highlights with you.
It's the commission's pleasure. You want to have him walk through?
Yeah, have them walk through.
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. So, is your tech group available to share it, or would you like me to share it?
If you would like to share the report while you're going through it, please feel free.
Okay. Let's see if we can do that. Hit the share button. Here we go. And so there's this screen. Okay. Let's try that. Okay. Can you see the report?
Yep.
Okay, so we put this together based on the Kits Lane application, TPZ 25-16, and all the available documents that I could find. There were a lot of them, of course. And so the beginning of this report, which you may have in your packet now, is the description of the project by Attorney Hollister's letter, and basically looking at the project in their description. So what we did here was to first take a look at the overview to show where this location is. I don't know if you can see my little arrow, my mouse moving around, but inside the red line is approximately where the project is. And you can see it's a pretty active area with the Berlin Turnpike and shopping pretty nearby, and also has other residential unit uses. So here we are looking at this line that runs roughly east to west. To the north of it is the proposed development. To the south is the existing construction yards. Here's a little closer view looking down, and you can see overlaid on this photo, you have units 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, and then a couple over here, bless you, 39 and 40. So right abutting 10 feet from the property line are these 9 townhouse units just north of the property line. And here's a little bit closer view from Google Earth showing, I guess, what would be there on a typical day. This was in June 2024, fairly recent. You can see the one above was must have been the winter because there was no leaves, but here we have a lot of trees, and but you can see the variety of vehicles. There's some lighter trucks, there's some dump trucks, there's a backhoe here. Looks like a little bulldozer, a couple of bobcats, and a variety of pieces of equipment. So it was, reported that these would fire up early in the morning, and people have noted the early hours. and then would go to a job site and may return later that day. There may be some pieces of equipment that are being repaired or otherwise used on the site during the day. Um, I, we're not sure, but it could be, and it probably depends on the day-to-day operations that they're doing. So it was a staff request to because of the proximity of this activity to the proposed development that it be studied in terms of noise impacts. And so that's what we did. Doing doing an analytical study, or what has been called a desktop study, using typical sound levels. There was no sound survey there to see what exactly the sound emitted by the existing use is to the south. So we used typical sound data from the U.S. Federal Highway Administration, and they have some software called Traffic Noise Modeler, and it has a construction sound database. So here's a selection of some of the pieces of equipment that are typical that we saw from the overhead view. And there may be others, but this is a pretty good list. I don't think they're pouring concrete in there. Concrete trucks are a little bit louder. So we went from about 80 dBA decibels. The little d stands for deci, or 1/10. The B is for Bell, Alexander Graham Bell, the telephone guy, and honoring him. And then the A is for A-weighted human hearing sensitivity, and that's what most of the regs are written to, this metric, dBA. And the Federal Highway Administration measured all these things and gave us data at 50-foot distance, normalized to 50 feet. So you could say, well, if they're operating under full load, this is what they would be in their max, and maybe the levels are a little bit less if they're just moving or leaving or getting loaded onto a trailer, for example. So we took that into account by allowing about 5 or 6 dBA, A-weighted decibels, below these numbers. And then there's a distance rule. These data are normalized to 50 feet. So we said, well, they could be as close as, say, 25 feet to the proposed residence. So that cuts the distance in half, and the distance formula rule of thumb is about 6 dB per doubling of distance, just based on the geometry, not on walls or trees or anything else, but just on distance. So that kind of is a wash then. So we would say, okay, these are pretty good numbers for what would be impacting the south facade of the proposed residences. So to compare the 80, of roughly about 80 to 100, if you keep that in mind, depending on the piece of equipment, a typical conversation would be at a distance of 5 feet. You always need a distance when you're talking about sound pressure levels. So, the closer you are, the louder it is, the further away you are, the softer it sounds. And the numbers bear that out. So a conversation is about 60 to 70. So you can compare that to 80 to 100 as the equipment goes. And that would be without any treatment. That's what you would get at the south end of the south side of the residences. You get 80 to 100. Now remember that the decibel scale is logarithmic. It's not linear. It's not like 80 is not double of 40. It's actually 4 decades above it. It goes by factors of 10, sort of like the earthquake scale, the Richter scale. So 50 is 10 times the energy of 40, 60 is 10 times 50, and so on. But the way our ears work, a 10 dBA higher sound would be perceived as twice as loud. We don't follow the sound levels. We get less sensitive as it gets louder, so which protects our ears. So when you think of a 10, it's roughly about twice as loud. So if you went from 60, if you went from 60 and then did 70, and those are approximate, uh, you'd say, well, that sounds about twice as loud. And going the other way, it would sound about half as loud. So that's something to keep in mind. Uh, so as an example, let's say that 80 dBA of one of the equipment pieces, the man lift, um, would sound about, well, if you go 80 and then you drop 70, that's 10, and another 70, that's 60 to a conversation, a quieter conversation. That man lift will sound about 4 times as loud as the conversation. So that's something to keep in mind. And that's the perception. So once we had that settled, the sound sources, and those are typical levels, then we go to the plan. And so what we were able to see in the plan, particularly units 23 to 31, are abutting the south property line. So looking through that, we developed 5 strategies or concepts that can be used to reduce the impact of any sound, or if it's perceived negatively, it would be called noise. So impact of any noise from the construction yard to the proposed properties. And one was the sound barrier, which was mentioned also, and the attorney for the applicant mentioned these. So you've heard them, the sound barrier, adjust the layout of the building so that the sensitive areas are further, on the other side of the building from the noise sources. It's important to make sure that the south side wall assembly is robust and will be able to block the sound that hits it. And there's a lot of ways to do that. So I didn't specify a particular assembly. Like, should it be I'm not sure if this is even going to be stick built, but if it's timber construction, it could be an 8-inch or a 10-inch stud. It could be double studs. Masonry can do it. Of course, the installation is important. You may need a double layer of gypsum wall board, GWB or sheetrock on the inside that's furred out or somehow on its own tracks, its own stud row. So there's a lot of things. That's a design issue. So this building hasn't been designed yet, but that's something that they need to pay attention to, and they said they will. And then the windows. The windows are the weak spot, the weak link. You get a good wall, then the sound coming from that source will go through the windows because they're lighter. They tend to transmit more sound. They're not as thick. They don't have the advantage of having 2 panels that are, as much as a half a foot or even more apart normally. So because they're probably operable, I would think. So they have to be tight windows with good glass and with higher ratings. And they did a good thing on their concept or schematic drawings where they limited the number of windows on the south side because there's just a few bathroom windows and there's one over the kitchen sink. So let's talk a little bit about these design strategies. Here's some elevations that were provided in the application. So the one on the left, those we got drawings for units 26 and 27. And if you remember, we'll go back there just a moment just to show you. Those are these two kind of in the middle, sitting by themselves. And here's another to the right or to the east is a row of 3, and to the west, to the left is a row of 4. And they have different floor plans and different sizes, but we got sketches for these two in the middle, so that's what we analyzed. Okay, back to there. So you can see very limited windows, smaller 2 by 2.5 foot size windows for the bathrooms upstairs, and then one over the kitchen. This is bigger. It says 5 feet width. I assume it's going to be typical standard door size, 7 feet high. So that would be a 5 by 7. So most of the sound downstairs is going to come through here, and then some up here in these windows. And then you can see on the east and west side, there are no windows. Okay, so we did a fairly extensive study on the effects of different fence heights. And because of the changing terrain, if you go back, you can see it here, is that, you know, if we're looking east, you can see that the front of the building is a lower elevation. So where my mouse is, that's where the construction yard is related to the east, this side of the building. It's basically, this is the back, and this is, if you want to get to the construction, you go up a hill further. And it continues sloping up there. So they range, if you look at the site plan, the back of this building is flat, of course, and that's at 179 feet. Where the trucks are driving around is about 180, 85, and it goes up from there to 190, 200 feet. So the vehicles are going to be at higher levels, sort of comparable with the second floor. And you can see that, you know, there's quite a slope going back up to the construction. So given that, we took a look at basically building up from 179, which was that back lot line. And we used an 8-foot barrier, which was proposed, and also calculated the numbers for the 12-foot barrier. And all of those calculations are included in the back of this report if you want to walk through them sometime. You're more than happy for you to do that. But here are the basically, it depends. If you're lower down and you're shining a light at the barrier, there's going to be a little, you know, a little sound that peeks over the barrier, peeks over the wall, just as you would expect. And that's not even light waves, it's sound waves, which are much bigger than light waves, and so they tend to bend around corners, if you will. So that's what the calculation takes into effect. And so the lower you are compared to the barrier, then the more attenuation or sound reduction you get. And then the other feature that we need to keep in mind is that if we were to shine a laser beam on our receiver from where the sound source is, the truck, say the truck engine, its radiator, which is say about 3 feet high, three to 4, depending on the equipment, and then the exhaust might be 8 or 10 feet high, or maybe low as well. But 5 feet as the source height is pretty good compromise. And so we looked at being 10 feet away from it. So you're kind of going to have it, you know, that's where your shadow is going to happen. And the further away you get from the barrier, if I can sort of, you know, do this, I'm shining, you know, the sound into this. And but if my receiver is here, I'm getting a lot of blockage. If my receiver is up here, then, you know, I'm just skimming the top, or I might even be missing the top, depending on the geometry. So if you're missing the top, you're not getting the barrier effect. You're missing most of it. You get some, a little bit, but but not much. So these are your numbers based on the mid-frequency bands. It's frequency dependent because the low bass sounds tend to bend around more than the and cricket sounds, higher sounds. So from 500 to 1,000, which are mid, we're, for being 10 feet away from the barrier, the truck is 10 feet away. And on the patio deck of this proposed building, we're assuming everything is baseline 179 feet elevation. You're going to get about 10 or 13 dB of reduction on an 8-foot barrier. On a 12-footer, you're going to get about 16 to 19, and on a 15-footer, you're going to get about 19 to 20. Now, the standards say that you really can't account for more than 20 decibel because you're open to the sky. So some sound is always going to get out. Unless you put a roof on it, you're pretty much limited to 20 decibels of sound reduction by a wall. Okay, so with all that said, here we are, as we move further away from the barrier to the other side of the construction yard where there are vehicles going to be moving around here. You might be 10 feet away here. If it's a 20-foot truck that's in there, they're backing in. So that's good. The engine's pointing to the south, but you might get the exhaust underneath or there might be a backup alarm. So we took 10 feet and then about 50 feet would be for this equipment over here. You're getting less of a barrier effect for these guys when they're down at 50. Okay, so you can see that range is on an 8-footer for about 10, 9 to 11, about say 15, 16 decibels for a 12-footer and, pushing 18, 20 for the 15-footer. And that's on the patio deck, that's outside. So one of the things we considered, and by the way, this material has to be about 4 pounds per square foot, as the applicant mentioned. That's about 2 layers of plywood. If you can imagine 2 layers of plywood glued and screwed together, that would be about 4 pounds per square foot. Okay, so that's, we're seeing, bottom line, we're getting better numbers out of the 15-footer as you would expect on the patio deck. And then we move to the architectural layout, which seemed to be a good job. You're not getting much here on the first floor, which is actually the middle floor, the ground floor. I guess the basement is the garage. I didn't show it here, but it's on the plan. You do get the kitchen in between, but it's a fairly open plan. You do have the stairway going up, but it's fairly open, so the sound is going to bounce around or reverberate inside here. And we didn't take any benefit for that. It depends, on the furnishings a lot too. So you might get a few decibels reduction in this plan on the first, we'll call it the first floor, occupant floor. But in the second floor where the bedrooms are, and this is probably more important because this is where people sleep and they want to have it quieter at the late hours of night or early hours of the morning. So the benefit here is that there's a wall assembly in between with doors. The bathrooms, this is a good space. Space provides sound attenuation. So we have a lot of that going on with the laundry. I believe that's the laundry. And then the bathroom here. And it's both bedrooms have an ensuite bathroom. And here's another closet too. So there's pretty good attenuation going through this way. And we were very conservative. We took about 10 decibels for that. It could be a little higher. Could be a little higher. Somebody might leave the door open. So that would, allow more sound through. And then, so that situation is, that's to be approved of. It's a good situation. Then the exterior wall, we said, well, it should, here's some suggestions as far as the mineral wool, layers of gypsum board. There's, some builders are building without a shear layer. I've seen where there's a piece of plastic as a vapor barrier, and they just throw a few extra 2x4s in there for shear so the building won't tip over sideways. But most builders, I think, are using shear layers, some plywood or OSB. So you want that heavy one on north side of the building. And so there are many different assemblies that could be used, but to give it a performance factor, we specified that it should have a minimum sound isolation performance of STC 60, which stands for Sound Transmission Class. That's a standard rating. Uh, that's fairly high. If you're in an apartment, this demising wall, for example, state code minimum, uh, by comparison, is STC 50. So from this bedroom in this unit to this bedroom in that unit, you need to have at least an STC 50, and we know what assemblies will give us that. And my recommendation is to any developers always go higher than that, because if you design to the code minimum, there's at least a 50% chance that you're going to fail. So that's a just, that's not part of this review, but I'm just a rule of thumb. And some of my colleagues say it's 70 or 80% failure. So we usually put a 5 decibel safety margin on any specification that has STC for sound transmission. So just for safety, for installation issues, somebody maybe forgot to caulk the runners and then it's covered over and it's too late, things like that. So there's always a lot of detail to be done to get good sound isolation. The little caulk gaps, believe it or not, is a mouse hole and it lets a lot of sound out or in. And so moving on from that south assembly, we want to have the minimum windows, which they did a good job on, smaller windows. And then, but each window needs to have double pane, double glazed, insulated, so there's an air gap of at least a half an inch, and then laminated glass, which gives you a little more. So, they could be two 1/8 inch panels laminated with a 60 mil plastic in between. That gives you a better sound isolation than just regular glass, because glass if you bang on a window, you'll hear it kind of ring a little bit. And the plastic lamination gets rid of that. It's also safety. And so if you have two of those laminated panels with a half inch between, you're pretty much going to hit, STC 35, which was our recommendation there. Many types of windows are rated for storms, hurricanes, object protection for, things flying around, like propane tanks in the air hitting your window. So this, if you get a good hurricane window, you're probably going to hit the STC 35. And then, so we said, okay, given these types of strategies, what can we expect at the residence? And so there's a typo, sorry. That should be 80 to 100 at 50 feet, or with, at minimal load, but 25 feet closer. So we're still looking at 80 to 100. The untreated noises, the levels are expected to be 80 to 100 dBA. That's pretty loud. I mean, your vacuum cleaner is about 75 maybe. A conversation could run from 60 to 70. You'll have, a hand circular saw, battery operated, that's going to run, somewhere in this range, 80 to 100, depending on what you're cutting and so on. So you can, that's a pretty loud thing to happen. at 5 in the morning at the back in your backyard. So that's why we recommend, you know, a 15-foot high sound barrier, which will reduce the levels up to about 20 on the first floor and up to, about 15 on the second floor. So that's the sound barrier fence or wall will do a lot of the work, but we have to, add it together and piece together the sound attenuation. So the next piece are the glass sliders. That's a pretty open spot. That's going to be your weak link if you have a, a good wall assembly. And we'll say about 30 dBA of sound attenuation, practically speaking after installation, even though it's an STC 35, the STC doesn't exactly match dBA, but we'll conservatively say we'll get about 30. And you might get 32, you might get 33, but we'll say 30 here. And then you've got the bathroom, and that's downstairs with no buffer effect. Upstairs, we'll get the 30 dBA in the bathroom windows, and then we'll add on another 10 dBA over that in attenuation because of the buffer effect. So now let's kind of add all that up. As we said before, on the outdoor back patio, you may be 60 to 80. You're probably not doing a cookout at 5 in the morning, most likely, but you might be at 4 in the afternoon. So that's something to keep in mind. That's untreated. Okay, so let's take a look for if we go back and say we're going to get our 20 dB from the 15-footer wall, now your back patio is 20 down from these numbers. So you are now 40 to 60, and that's pretty reasonable. That's that. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I already took that into account. We were 80 to 100, and now we're 60 to 80. My mistake. So this is, but that's conversational level. It could interfere with conversations, or it could sound loud. It could be irritating. It's a convenience factor, I think, is the way someone described it. Okay, that's outside. So now inside, where we want to be even a little more careful, we'll take those source numbers that we just were talking about, 80 to 100. Let's take, for the first floor, 20 dB off of that. We'll take off 15 in the bedroom. The window effect will give us another 30. And upstairs in the bedrooms, we're going to get at least another 10. So just doing the math here on this line, 80 to 100 minus 20, which is the first floor, minus 30, which is the window effect. So now we're at, 80 to 100 minus about 50. That gives us 30 to 50, if I did my arithmetic correct, in the living room. And that's not bad. Your various authorities, health organizations, the EPA and so on say that if you're, 45 to 50 or so in a living area inside, that's acceptable. So we're, definitely in the acceptable range or lower inside with all of these mitigation effects in play. And now upstairs, we've got the 80 to 100 minus 15, a little bit less because we're higher in elevation, so we're not getting the full barrier effect of 20, minus the 30 for the windows, and minus the 10 for having to go through the bathroom. So now we're down to 80 to 100 minus 55, so it's another 5 lower. So we're in pretty good shape here in the bedrooms. But again, we will say that, depends on putting everything in place. Here's just some details if people want to know. We talked about the outdoor effects of the barrier up here. Yeah, way up here. Okay, so a similar table and this is the backyard. This is the similar table, just highlighting the barrier effects for the inside areas. Now remember, it's basically the same distance as the back patio, 10 feet from the property line, but that's what hits the wall. So in the living room and dining room, which is the first floor, you can see we're getting, the similar numbers for attenuation based on the height of the barriers. And these were estimated here. And I'll tell you why. These were calculated, but these ones down here were estimated. So for a truck 10 feet away, you get these kind of reductions, and you get a little bit less when the truck is 50 feet away, down for the inside areas. And now let's go to the second floor. We've got the bedrooms. So since basically I did a geometry chart that shows, well, if you're 10 feet away from an 8-foot barrier and you're looking at the second floor window 15 foot high off the elevation, kind of the middle of the window, it might be a little higher, so it might even be a little worse than this, but you're getting basically 0 to 5 decibels reduction. And same thing for the 12-foot barrier. You're shooting over the top of it with the sound. You're a little bit further back with the 50-foot, and you're doing the same thing. You're shooting over the top and just kind of skimming over the top on this one. So you can expect basically 0 or maybe a little bit. And then with the 15-footer, you are getting the benefit of the barrier because you are now behind the shadow of the barrier. That laser is not hitting the window because the barrier's high enough. So given that factor, here are the recommendations. So we said you should use all of these conditions. You need the 15-foot high. Unfortunately, that's the geometry of the site demands you need the 15-foot barrier fence to protect the bedrooms. The wall assembly should be at least SDC 55, or actually I had 60, so that's the safety margin factor that should have been in this here. That's a typo. And then the STC, and that's not hard to achieve, by the way. And that's just the one wall. It's not the other walls of the rest of the development. And then the one wall that's on the southern boundary. So there are 3 buildings. Just want to make that clear. And then here are the window assemblies. We did say we wanted at least a ST3C35 for those. So if you put all of those together, you're going to get enough attenuation such that it will be pleasant and to live there with little or no noise impact from the existing construction yard. So the rest of this is the calculations which can be reviewed by anybody if needed. And that's the conclusion. So I'm happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Well, you all set?
Yep, well, it's definitely if the commission has any questions.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any commissioner questions? Commissioner
Just a
Harpy?
quick comment. I know the hour's late. Is the company comfortable with acting on these recommendations? Just yes or no, be fine. I know it's.
No, we can't do the 15-foot fence. This 15-foot sound barrier fence would not make the development economically feasible. We can do an 8-foot sound barrier fence. We've addressed there's 5 total mitigation strategies on page 5 of the report. We address each of them exactly with his recommendations. The only thing we cannot do is a 15-foot sound barrier fence. The 8-foot fence, sound barrier fence is what we're proposing.
So that's an economics of it for you, or is that?
It would not make the development feasible. The sheer price of a 15-foot wall, it would not make the development feasible.
Okay, and then one other quick thing,
Go ahead,
can you
Commissioner.
tell me, Mr. Chairman, we have taken any actions or has the town tried to reduce the sound in the neighbor that's creating sound problems in the south end of the building?
Yep, so I could say there's been, actually, as Attorney Moran did notice that there's been no like sound study done on the side of that, and right now, other than just another contractor's business on the other side, this land is vacant. So there's that interaction, you don't really know, just because it's vacant land and those houses have been vacant for some time.
Thinking, Paul Moore, have neighbors been complaining? Is that accurate or not accurate?
Yeah, I would say there's a lack of neighbors on this side of the construction yard, and on the other side is another contractor. And they appear to kind of share some space in the
Because
back.
it seems like all the burden is on this entity to quiet, well, I'm just gonna, it's not a criticism. It may sound like it. I'm trying to give a little benefit to it. They seem to have the, carrying the cross of doing these other issues, which they want to do to make the units more comfortable and keep as much sound down. And I never hear any action taken against a noisy neighbor who's creating issues, not intentionally, but sound issues that's impacting this project.
Yep.
But that's all I've got. Just a
Commissioner
comment.
Fox?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through the chairman. Sir, have you discussed this with Mr. Brook, and how many, if you don't use a 15-foot fence, what would that do to the, for the acoustics? If that's all, if you're doing everything else he wants to do, or if everything, shows up the way he just presented, what would lowering the fence do to the acoustics?
We don't have calculations on the effect of the variation of that, but just let me, the reason why I disagreed with Commissioner Harpy just now about it's incumbent on the applicant to, to provide information on the noise is we're in this different 830G process here. It's not your typical special permit where the applicant comes in.
You misunderstood me.
I
was saying
apologize.
This thing was falling on you.
Right.
I was giving you some benefit.
Apologies, I misunderstood.
He was empathizing with you.
Thank you.
Apparently not too well.
No, I guess my point is, and I'll keep it short, is just that, we're dealing with 830G here, and throughout Mr. Brooks' report, he hasn't specified one substantial public health and safety risk associated. So I'll leave it at that. Mr. Chairman, I only have left, I wanted our traffic engineer to discuss briefly the feasibility of, we're proposing as an approval condition, a four-way stop. And
just let me find out, any other questions from commissioners on this?
Yep.
Commissioner Minor had his hand raised.
Commissioner Minor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just very quickly, I think when we're referring to noise barrier, I think we're getting lost in the fact that we're not looking to put in a highway barrier at 25 feet, but there are commercial grade fencing structures that could meet that, I believe, without being financially incumbent. I just would like to know if you have even looked into it, or you just at this point haven't gone into depth on it.
correct. So in the page 5 of the Brooks report proposes 5 mitigation strategies. And we've proposed as approval conditions, agreeing to each one. So the first one, provide a sound barrier. We propose an 8-foot tall sound barrier fence. The architectural layout of the townhouse apartments, our design complies with that. Soundproofing materials on the southern facade, we propose that. We agree to that. Using minimal fenestration, you heard Mr. Brooks talk about the layout of our windows. We comply with that. Using higher sound isolation ratings for the windows and the south side sliding glass doors. We agree to that as an approval, as a condition of approval. So
Mr. Chairman? If I may, on that question that was asked, I actually did speak with Mr. Brooks earlier today, kind of about different options that are out there, different recycled fence materials. I think it speaks well to Commissioner Minor's point, and if you would like to redirect to him, I would recommend that.
Sorry, I didn't hear the last
If you would
one.
like to ask Mr. Brooks his experience with those sound barriers.
Mr. Brooks, can you please give us some description of these sound barriers and your experience with them?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for the question. There are, basically, if as long as you get a material that's about, 3 to 4 pounds, should be 4 pounds per square foot face weight. So that's like putting together two layers of plywood. And there have been some operations. That's a popular one for mechanical systems on rooftops of grocery stores when they have neighbors looking right at that. So, they get maybe 10 years out of them. But they're, so that's one way. You could just build the thing out of 4x4s and plywood if you wanted. That wouldn't be too expensive. And then there are commercially available materials of all kinds of varieties. There's, sheet metal based ones, there's plastic based ones. There was a company that was building panels that would slide into like two H posts, if you can imagine, that are just, it's basically two grooves that you have on either side, and it's a 5 foot panel that just drops down maybe 2 feet high, and they're made out of recycled soda bottles, and they're heavy enough so that they provide a good, and they sort of tongue and groove so they fit together, and they're not too expensive. It's an option. I think you just want to take a look at how that fits with your town codes in terms of wall heights that are allowed. I could see that this might be certainly granted an exception on wall height because it does contribute to the quality of life. If you take away that 15 to 20 decibel attenuation, then the numbers that you're left with on the well, you're gonna get some attenuation on the 8 footer. So, not to at the first floor. But on the bedroom, you will lose that 15. So now the numbers that we were showing in the report are, not 25 to 45. Now they're 40 to 60. And so that at, a 60 decibel, basically like somebody talking at you in your bedroom at 5 in the morning would probably be considered intrusive. I can't say for everybody's. It's not always, some people it might not bother, but I think there is a health and quality of life issue involved. I didn't highlight it in the report, so maybe I should have, but it's basically I gave the positive side of the story. The flip side of the story is if you don't do this, then there'll be a price to pay in terms of less performance for sound mitigation. So that's important to keep in mind. And I didn't. That's a whole other study. We could take up a lot of time talking about the health effects, including lack of sleep. That's probably the biggest one. If people are awakened at 5 or 6 in the morning and they're not used to that could weigh on their health. So there is a factor in there, and I'm sorry, I maybe should have put that in as a highlight area, but it looked like if we did this and it is economically feasible, that's always important, obviously, for the developer. They need to be able to build it. But I think it's worth exploring because when you take all these factors together, then you can create a community that is livable. And I think that's the idea you're trying to do. So in terms of the town's interest, I think it is in the town's interest to have a higher wall condition. But that is certainly up to the commission to decide. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, commissioners?
Yes.
Yeah, Commissioner Woods.
Our regulations, Paul, don't we restrict fences at 8 foot high?
So fences, 6 foot in residential, they can be taller than 8 feet, 8 foot in commercial on a property line. There can be 10 foot fences. So we do have larger fence heights depending on the area.
Thank you.
This is the one case with this application being an 830G application. Basically what is needed to provide the affordable housing while providing for the health and safety. Zoning gets kind of put to the side. It's considered. Everything's considered, but it's measured against that. So for the same way that measured against as far as how far something is away, certain areas, street trees, things like that are in our zoning regulations. I think actually the fence height itself could be an aspect of an 830G application that the commission could include a higher one if it was necessary.
But this whole report that Mr. Brooks walked us through is hypothetical. No study is done. We don't know the noise level at the neighbor to the south, correct?
Correct.
So it is purely hypothetical.
Yep, and then that's why, yeah, in the initial staff reports that was asked and to be looked at, and kind of the answer to that was do not want to go forward with it. So yes, this was a tabletop analysis of what it can be.
And two more things. One, I was on the record already. I don't know that this belongs solely on the applicant. And my last question, which you might not be able to answer now, is there a current site plan for the neighbor to the south? And are they in compliance with the site plan?
There's no approved site plan for that site. It was just an old site. It appears to have always been some kind of trucking contractor type of thing. It's just morphed over time.
So kind of see where I'm going. We got somebody who can do whatever they want to do. Somebody who's coming in and trying to build an apartment complex, but yet now we're throwing the onus on the applicant, fix the problem next door. I'm not so sure that that's fair. That's my position.
Thank you, Commissioner Woods. Anybody else?
So we do have did you hand those out already?
I handed
You
out.
hand those out too? So I'll get a copy of that. I'll give some copies to Attorney Moore. This is just some light reading. It is academic reading, but it is kind of about the health effects of noise. And speaking with Mr. Brooks, I think probably a few examples. So after Erica's done handing that out, again, it's just kind of some information for the commission.
So these two articles go together.
Yes, we have two separate articles. You want to get? Again, just for the record, these articles are the new World Health Organization guidelines for community noise and noise exposure and public health are the titles for these two as well. So those are, again, for your records, just on that. And if the commission wants any additional information, definitely ask me. I'm happy to look it up.
Any questions, commissioners? Okay. Move on to the traffic engineering now.
Good evening. For the record, Scott Hesketh, professional engineer, state of Connecticut, firm of F.A. Hesketh and Associates. And we submitted some supplemental materials to the commission for their consideration. At the last public hearing, a couple of questions came up regarding the site distance that we were providing out of the site driveway looking to the north. Town staff had indicated that they'd like to see a separation distance of 1 foot between the site distance and the proposed grade. So the plans have been revised, and there is a revised site distance plan, which is previously submitted, which shows that we are proposing a 1 foot separation between the proposed grade and that site distance. So we hopefully that will be acceptable to staff and to the commission. Some of the other comments related to the possibility of having an always stop sign controlled intersection at Kitts Lane and the proposed site driveway and the Aldi's driveway. It was our opinion expressed previously that that's not necessary, either for the volumes of traffic or the levels of service or for safety. However, the town staff had recommended it, and they had asked for an outside consultant, SLR, to review the application and make some recommendations. SLR has indicated that they would like to see an always stop sign controlled intersection. So the plan, which is before you this evening, PM1, indicates that we are willing, as a condition of approval or as part of this submission here, to install an always stop sign controlled intersection at that location. Which will do a couple of things. One, it almost negates the need for the sight distances because all vehicles are required to come to a stop at that location. So sight distances is not as critical. Sight distance is still required, but all the vehicles will be slowing. So the sight distances required are significantly less than what one would have under the previous prevailing speeds. SLR also indicated that it would be appropriate to stripe shoulder lines along kits to delineate the travel ways a little bit better and to help people to stay in the appropriate travel lanes. So on the plan in front of you, we have shown the addition of 4-inch white shoulder lines, basically from the intersection of Ann Street to a point of about 280 feet west of the proposed site driveway. I just picked a spot out there. There's a catch basin and a utility pole in that location. Seemed like an appropriate place to stop the striping, easily measurable. In addition, we're proposing to have stop ahead signs on each approach to the intersection, since they are new stop sign control, and because of the curvature in the roadway and the downhill of Kits Lane, 300 feet in advance of the intersection, we're proposing stop ahead signs. There's also an existing stop ahead sign where our proposed driveway is going to be. We're proposing to relocate that slightly to the north so that people are aware of the stop sign control intersection at Ann Street and the Stop and Shop driveway as well. So I believe with the proposed signing and pavement marking plan, which is in front of you, and with the revision to the intersection sight distance, which was previously submitted, that I believe we've addressed all of the applicable comments from both staff and SLR. And it remains my opinion that the proposed development and the traffic associated therein will not cause any adverse effect to the public health, safety, and welfare. If the commission has any specific questions related to traffic, I'll be happy to address them.
You want to speak, Chris, or you want to wait?
So we also have, if it would work for you and for Attorney Moran, we do have SLR online too, who can.
Okay, let me see if we have any commissioner questions on it so far. No? Yes, Commissioner Woods.
Was the police department consulted on the 40 stop sign?
Yes, the LTA, Ryan Dean was consulted on.
And they're in agreement that, okay.
Did Ryan have any questions about where we start the shoulder lines?
So this plan is new today to staff. So we haven't discussed it yet with the LTA.
Because I mean, coming off down that grade, all of a sudden you don't have any shoulder lines, all of a sudden you see shoulder lines. I'm just concerned because I also see the 85 percentile up here at over 45 miles an hour coming down. So I'm concerned that maybe either the town or the applicant should maybe think about stretching the shoulder lines farther south. That's my concern at this point.
Commissioner Minor has his hand raised as well.
Commissioner Minor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just briefly, any consideration on it'll be a 3-way for Ann Street, 4-way with the new outcrop, and the proximity to the Stop and Shops? I'm trying to think that's a distance of probably 300 feet stop sign to stop sign. Is that relatively accurate?
It's a little bit more. I would say it's more in the range of 400 to 500 feet.
Okay. And the second question, quickly, is it possible to request some selective enforcement through the police department just to see what they're getting for road speeds there. Cause I just have some concerns with the traffic coming down with two stop signs, one almost on a, I don't want to say a blind corner, but a tight corner, even with the advanced warning sign.
Yep, I would say, from a town point of view, again, this wouldn't be on the applicant to do, but yes, that's something we can explore. And, Chris, the town engineer, and I have already talked about if a new traffic pattern is put in place as well, to reach out to the T2 Center that we've done in the past, whenever we have a new traffic pattern or something, and get one of their electronic signs and put it out there for a little while to advise of a new traffic pattern.
All right, thank you.
All right, any other? Okay, we're all set.
All right, so I have Neil Olinsky. Again, your report has been handed out. If you just, again, like to briefly kind of go over it, I think there's some consensus in the room about the design, but if you would like to kind of go over your report as well, just, yeah.
Yeah, sure thing. For the record, Neil Olinsky with SLR Consulting. I'm actually filling in tonight on behalf of Anthony Russo from our company. He had a scheduling conflict, but I'm here nonetheless. We did the traffic peer review, and by and large, it all comes down to this always stop, which, as you've heard, the applicant is in agreement with doing. We haven't, this is the first time I'm seeing it, so in general, it looks appropriate. I mean, there's some intricacies we could look at in terms of maneuverability of cars and box trucks, for example, turning in and out of the driveways from the always stop. For example, you don't want a vehicle stopped at one of the new stop bars, and you don't want another, say, box truck turning in or out of the Aldi driveway to not be able to do so. So you'd have to look at the vehicle, what they call vehicle tracking or maneuverability, the swept path maneuverability of the vehicles relative to the proposed stop bars and things like that. But to back up, I could share my screen. I'm sure the commission has reviewed. Well, I'm hoping the commission has reviewed our letter. We just, I think, released it yesterday. Let me
So,
share.
yeah, the commission did get did get it today. The applicant did get it yesterday when you sent it in, but the commission got it today.
Okay.
I'll stop sharing so you can take over.
But I can quickly go through the high points of that just to get them on the record. Let me just find it. Should be right here. Okay. So we reviewed several items. We reviewed the traffic impact study from Hesketh from June 23rd. We reviewed the supplemental materials dated August 21st. A response to comments doc prepared by Hesketh dated August 26th. The second supplemental materials application proposed, or that was dated September 16th, as well as the site plan and the sightline profiles. Several of what we have here are comments that are in agreement with the traffic study. We did not have, again, our focus was mostly on safety, but we did look at the traffic study. We agree with the applicant that there's really no expected traffic flow or traffic congestion issues. With only 40 units on a peak hour basis, we're not expecting there to be anything like level of service impacts to traffic flow or even parking congestion with the proposed supply of parking. But in terms of safety, it all comes down to really the speeds out there on Kitts Lane. We're presuming the posted or the speed limit out there is 25 miles per hour. The applicant in their report has stated that some speed counts were done, and the 85th percentile speeds are quite a bit higher than 25. They're 41 miles per hour in the southbound direction and 45 miles per hour in the northbound direction. So quite a bit higher than the speed limit, which is worrisome. When you combine that with the curvature of Kitts Lane, sort of the horizontal curvature, it gets even trickier. And then when we propose the site driveway relative to that curvature, for example, a motorist at the egress from the site, looking over their shoulder to the right, to the north, they've got to stretch even further than typical as you would typically have on a regular T intersection. They really have to look quite a bit over their shoulders. So really those three things combined led us to agree that an always stop is appropriate at this location. And we're happy to hear that the applicant is amenable to doing that. And that's a good thing. That's really that was the bulk of our peer review findings. Again, I don't want to go and waste everybody's time going through this verbatim. We do also think that in addition to the always stop, that it is a good idea, as has been already proposed, to do some of the regrading along the frontage and to trimming of the vegetation in this area in particular. We think that's also a good idea, just an extra belts and suspenders, in addition to making this always stop. North is to the right, by the way. So I think that's pretty much it. The last thing that comes to mind is in our peer review report, we had suggested maybe some additional illumination or lighting at this intersection. Again, just for extra safety. There is if I'm not mistaken, an overhead light on this SNET pole. It might not be a bad idea to get some sort of lighting of some sort on this side, the site side as well, in the area of the intersection, the proposed crosswalk. So that's pretty much it. Again, I can dig down any further into our review, and I can answer any questions on my end if there are any.
Thank you. Any questions, commissioners?
And the only thing I'd just like to add that interestingly enough, on that SNET pole, a couple years ago, there was a light on it, and now the pole was replaced, and so there isn't a light on it. So that's something that we will have to look in as the town.
Even more needed. Yep. Okay.
We will handle that. That's not the applicant's issue.
Right, no, I realize that, yeah.
Yep. Commissioner Minor.
Commissioner Minor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one final comment. The only concern that I've got in regards to the stop sign location is during the wintertime, Kits Lane is a notorious area of spinouts on that hill. And having a stop sign, not even at the base of the hill, but kind of 3/4 of the way down, is just maybe something to consider. That is a problematic hill in the wintertime, and Public Works can verify that they have a difficult time keeping up with that hill during precipitation in the winter. So just a consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Minor. Paul, you might want to check with Rob on that and see exactly what we have going on up there.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman,
Yes,
just have
Commissioner
one
Harpy.
point. I think the condominium is Crown Ridge, so as you come down the hill, people come in and out of that condominium, and sometimes they don't stop when they're coming out. There's a big yellow sign that the highway department, they presume, put up. There's some wise guy now that's coming down there tonight, had flipped the whole thing and nailed it to a tree upside down to make a more critical situation out of it, but I don't know if there's any way to cover the Crown Bridge. You'd have to go almost back to Glen Oaks, where those stop signs are, that large condominium. And I don't think you'd have enough running space that anybody would notice this. I'm not saying you're suggesting that, but this, if you get a chance, take a look at what I'm talking about. It's a very small condominium. I think it's Crown Ridge.
Yeah.
And it's on the west side of, as you'd be driving, so. That's an unresolved situation, but I haven't seen any incident reports that the police, at least the ones I looked at, didn't have any problem with it, so I guess. And I'm not talking against the negative about your proposal, I'm just saying there's another wide tooth hanging out of the situation. That's all, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? What's up, Paul?
Yep, and I said with the other condos in the area, I'd say it's the town will look at that road as well. kind of their area of influence is that exit and entrance in front of their property.
You might want to check with Lieutenant Ryan Dean to see if he's got accident data. If not, there's a accident data depository with UConn. Should get that out of.
Yeah.
No. Yes.
We did include the accident data, the last 3 years of data from UConn in our report. And if you flip to the very last page, it gives you a list of the accidents over a 3-year period on Kitts Lane, and there were a total of 10 accidents. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 of them, depending on how you read it, occurred at the intersection of the Berlin Turnpike. 1 at Ann Street, 1 at Cypress Road, 1 at Butternut Lane, and 1 at Ancient Highway. So, and 1 at the Kitts Lane Plaza. So it's not a significant number of accidents. 1's too many. But 10 along Kitts Lane is probably not a lot. So it doesn't seem to be a significant accident history, but the information is there for.
I just like to have police department check it to see what we're doing. And if we need to get some type of enforcement, I'm sure we're going to get that from Ryan Dean.
Certainly.
So, Mr. Snow is just gonna discuss, we inadvertently emitted 2 elevations of floor plans for 2 of the units. He's just briefly gonna go over that, and then I'm gonna close, and that'll be our presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Patrick Snow. For lack of better words, I guess all these projects are just a balance. And we've heard a lot of information tonight. What's a balance between looking at a 20-foot fence from the downside or an 8-foot fence? I think that's a big balance. Or what's the balance of maybe putting no windows on the backside and not having someone, in their house be able to get some light and to do those things. I heard about noise. Noise, yes. My brother visited me last week from New York City, and he said, "You have the quietest house here. I'm maybe half a mile from the Berlin Turnpike, and I hear the cars screeching up and down every night." So sometimes noise is perspective. I didn't read the letter, but I 100% agree. Noise and interruption of sleep is one of the biggest health concerns that we have. However, if there's 1 morning or 2 mornings because there's snowfall that the trucks are backing up, that's not a significant health concern. So I know I'm off track here, but I just wanted to say, as far as me and the development, everything here is a balance. We want to make a great community for the city, or for the town. We'll balance that with an Affordable Act. We build a nice unit and saying we're looking at the last 2 units of 39 and 40. They all have 2 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, 1-car garage. We're 29 feet in height. The rear height is approximately 32 feet from the ground. They all have living room, kitchen, half bath, first floor bedrooms, full bath, and laundry room in units. So that's all I had to say. And if there's any questions for me, I'd love to do it, but I will do what's right. I mean, I've been in this business a long time. I've built a lot of units. I've just finished one down the street in Berlin. And some things, I'm the person who rents the units. I'm the person who gets the complaints. I'm the person who deals with the complaints. I'm the person who hears it and is in the field to do all those things. And yes, we will make the units. I agree wholeheartedly that firewall at the 50 STCs is too low. We do that. I've got more concerns of things that hear in the other person's bedroom than they do from the outside Berlin Turnpike. So those are just some of the things we deal with on a daily basis, and we will build and make them better and better. I'm here to answer any questions, and that's all I have.
Mr. Snow, I personally think it's a great development. Like I said, I'm impressed with what you've done. My personal opinion.
Yes.
Commissions.
Understood.
I'm impressed with what you've done. I just have some concerns, as you heard tonight.
Of course, and I understand that with balance, yes.
Right. So I'm gonna see what the commission's pleasure is. If we want to keep it open 2 more weeks, we read all this. I want to thank you that it's not as bad as when I sit on the Hartford Flood Commission. One day I've got a pile stacked like this from both sides, and I had to read it. So I'm going to thank you very much for not giving me too much paperwork to read.
You're welcome.
So, Paul?
Yep. So, Mr. Chairman, I would just like to add to that, if you would like to continue it on that, you do need Mr. Snow's consent. Just because of the 35-day time frame. He does have 65 additional days that can be granted. We did take off the last meeting on the 10th. But this is in front of you tonight, just as a FYI that I would recommend it if the applicant is okay with that.
Let's see what the commission wants. Commissioners, would you like to keep it open for another meeting?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Hoffman?
Okay.
Commissioner Woods?
Yeah, I think we need to hear from the public before we can.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah. Let's see if anybody wishes to speak.
And- Attorney Moore wanted to end his statement. We should keep
Okay.
a chance to rebut anything that he's heard.
Yeah, with respect to the public hearing being continued, I just, submit to the commission that just because the public hearing, if it closed tonight, would not prohibit the commission from reviewing everything that's submitted and taking the time, you need to come to an informed decision. So I'll leave it at that. And just, to conclude, I'd be remiss if I didn't address this 2001 report from the World Health Organization that was just submitted into the record. I want to put on the record that I'm disappointed to just be receiving this article now during the public hearing. I note that our application's been on file since July 2nd. Nothing has changed with respect to our neighbor to the south. So I just wanted to make that clear. The article discusses health effects from noise generated from vehicles, aircraft takeoffs, building construction, military activities, building services, ventilation systems, vacuum cleaners, washing machines, and lawnmowers. There's no basis to assume the effects discussed in this article will apply here. I'll leave it at that. Mr. Hesketh explained, as I said, the four-way stop is not necessary or willing to do that to address any of the commission's concerns. A few other plan changes quickly that haven't been discussed tonight is we added soil stockpile and additional erosion and sediment control measures, including concrete washout areas to the erosion sediment control plan. That was something we said we would do, that we have. We've relocated the fire hydrants to the center of each driveway at the staff's request. We've also amended the grading along the property's frontage with Kitts Lane to increase the northern sightline. And you'll notice that we have a revised hydraulic analysis in our second supplemental materials. It's just for that change. Again, you have before you uncontroverted expert opinions in the record that the development can be built safely with no public health or safety risks. I again respectfully request approval. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this?
No one online has their hand raised, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone wishing to speak against this proposal? No one online?
No one
Okay.
online has their hand raised, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Commissioner, what's your pleasure? Would you like to keep it open for another one meeting until you digest all this information?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think you should entertain a motion to continue the hearing until October 8th.
Give a second.
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
I'll second the motion, but I don't want to comment.
Okay. Commissioner
Yep.
Woods?
Are we looking for additional information, and what information are we looking for? The public, I'm not saying they're not interested, but there's nobody here, whether it be for or against tonight. We did have a couple people at the first meeting that had some traffic issues. I think we have an applicant who has done everything possible to appease this commission and this town to try to make this development work for our community. Again, I'm not opposed to keeping it open if there's a reason to keep it open. I just don't know what that reason is. We've got volumes of information in front of us.
Mr. Fox?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Steve, Commissioner Woods, I agree with you wholeheartedly, but at least personally, as far as I'm concerned, I'd like to do a little more research on the kind of look at the basically interested in the fire department access. I've also heard I've gotten some questions about open space, whatever vegetation is around there being disturbed and things. And so I think maybe if more people well, I don't think that many people are aware of it, but I know it sounds kind of silly. So I would like to give it another, a little more time.
And
I
Commissioner
have
Meyer
nothing,
has his hand raised.
I have no complaint about the application. Mr. Snow and Mr. Mullins here, they all did a, but in the old days, we used to call it a bang-up job. And, I'm sure they knew there was gonna be a little, some feedback, some pushback, and there'd be a lot of questions. So they covered every inch of space that they had to. And so, I appreciate that. And
The
so
only thing
it
I
has
have-
nothing to do with the applicant.
You have any questions?
I think Commissioner Minor has. his
Commissioner
hand.
Minor, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, there are some open questions, Commissioner Woods, that I'm still interested in. One was the road width that was brought up as to 20 feet acceptable or not standard to the rest of the town. Second being whether or not the four-way stop sign at that location is going to increase issues or decrease issues. So I think that's another issue related to the road speed on that hill coming down. Concerns on whether or not that intersection would cause additional risk with snow removal. So that was a question for DPW director. So I think there are still some open questions. Again, I'm not opposed to this project at all. I think it's actually needed, but I just want to make sure that we have done our due diligence to make sure that this is appropriately presented. So that's my comment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Minor. Mr. Woods? Oh, Commissioner Hoffman.
I have a feeling that the roads are going to be a problem whether we don't put in the stop signs or if we do. People are gonna get used to having to stop. They're gonna have to get used to slowing down and obeying the traffic commission's signage. I don't think it's a reason to not do it. I don't see it as a reason to not vote on. I think we don't need any additional information. As far as the 20-foot width on the roads, that is appropriate according to their consultant. I have an issue whether the outriggers will work, but we have to remember that we don't have a real say in what we can veto when it's this type of a program going into effect. So I'd like to see it just go forward.
Okay. Commissioner Hartby?
The only one thing that I'm concerned about is I don't see any comfort level. This isn't a criticism, but I don't see any comfort level from the fire department that they're buying into the proposition of what was presented tonight. I'm not saying they don't, but I'd like either hear from them or something in writing to us that, that we have that sort of certification from our own fire department. That's all I'm saying.
Fire chief is here. Do you want to have him bring him up?
Yep, I think you have a motion and a
Oh, that's right,
second
yeah.
on the table. You can either choose to withdraw it.
Would you like me to rescind that motion?
Please, let's rescind the motion. Let's have the fire chief.
Rescind the motion.
I also rescind the second.
Thank you.
Make sure you use the door, chief.
Yeah.
Good evening. How are you today? So in speaking with the road,
Give me that for the record.
Chief Traumer, 148 Maple Ave. And speaking on the road width, yes, the minimum regulation is 20 feet. We have agreed with the developer to actually add an additional 5 feet onto the sidewalks and reinforce that. So we would actually have 25 feet in front of the buildings, which would give us a lot more access with our apparatus to get around. They also are receptive to putting in curbs
that are gonna be easier on our tires to get up on. So I am support of the road width. I think unfortunately, when we put a ladder truck up, the outriggers are gonna go out. It's gonna block the road. It is an operational thing. We have to pre-plan the area like we pre-plan every other building in town. So yes, usually what happens is our first engine comes in, they lay a hydrant line, our ladder truck comes behind it, and the second ladder truck comes up behind that. So we should have plenty of room to operate on those roads. The only concern I would have on the fire department side, which we also talked to the developer today, was on the slope on the south side of the building where the decks are. They had proposed putting stairs in, which would help us for access up to the deck areas to be able to fight fires. Our concern was there was such a steep grade that we wouldn't be able to get up there safely. They actually proposed putting stairs even to the decks and up the back slopes to help us out. So I'm in support of this development. I don't see any issues. So.
Thank you, Chief.
Yep.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
Commissioner Wakoma.
I think with the applicant has really worked,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
the applicant has really worked diligently to make many modifications as requested by the commission. And with this clarification and support now, I believe that we could act
All right,
and move ahead.
Commissioner Woods.
With that, I would entertain a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Second. Okay, any other discussion? None? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Oh, sorry.
May I add something to that before we discuss it?
Yes, Commissioner Fox.
We voted already, but
Yeah, well, we'll just, I just want to add bring it up, for a vote tonight.
it's already on old business.
Is it? Okay.
All right, so we've made a motion, we passed this. Okay, so we're closing it. Okay? We'll do road business.
That was easy.
I guess so. Okay, where are we now?
The next public hearing.
Next public hearing. Now, we got,
Yeah, we got two more public hearings. Yeah.
yeah. No, hold on, wait a minute. Got too much paperwork here. Okay, hold on. Next is petition 25-18 special permit replace for physical activity and personnel training facility at 2434 Unit 9 Berlin Turnpike in the BT Business District or BT zone. Applicant Revolution Sports Club LLC, owner Berlin Corporation, contact Robert Maybrush. Application received 8/13/25, 65 days to public opening, hearing by 10/17/25, hearing scheduled 9/24/25. Please come up and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, commissioners. Name is Robert Maybrook. My education is in exercise prescription and finance, the owner of the Applicant Revolution Sports Club. And the address is 169 Lowry Place, Newington currently. Revolution Sports Club is currently a personal training studio operating in Newington. We've been in Newington for about the last 5.5 years and just requesting a relocation to the Berlin Turnpike. The personal training facility, we mainly work with one-on-one and small group training clients, mainly adults who just want to have a coach, someone to give them guidance to make sure that their wellness is on track. Like I said, we're mainly working in the one-on-one setting and in the small group setting. So the small group setting would be one coach to about 6 clients, 2 to 6 clients. And the operating hours for those small group sessions would be most of the busy times of the day. So in the morning before work, in the evening after work. So that's kind of the expectations as far as what traffic would be like during those times. You'd expect like one coach and between 2 to 6 people during peak hours. Again, mornings like around 7 o'clock and evenings around 4 or 5 o'clock. The afternoon hours are mainly filled with one-on-one sessions. So traffic around those times would be 1 to 2 parked cars. I also do some youth training as well, again, around 4 o'clock, and also in the small group setting. So about 6 kids to 1 coach. As far as the parking available, if you're familiar with the plaza, has ample parking there. And I've also been honored over the last 5.5 years to be named one of Connecticut's top personal training facilities. And I would love to continue operating in Newington, where I started my business. I'm looking forward to continuing this discussion. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Any questions, commissioners?
Yep, I would just add, you can see in the staff report that we reviewed the parking. There is sufficient parking at this location. We have not received any complaints about the applicant's current operations. It is a site that has similar uses and a multitude of uses over at O'Neill Plaza, and staff does not see any issue with the special permit.
Thank you, Paul. All right. Anybody wish to speak in favor of this petition?
No one online has their hand raised, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone wish to speak against it? Okay, what's the commission's pleasure?
I'd like to move that we close the public hearing and move it to old business.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, we will move it to old business vote on tonight, okay?
It took a little long, but
All right. Next petition, petition TPZ petition 2519, modification of special permit 0418 and 1318 to allow live entertainment within an existing recreational use for alcoholic beverage sales permitted pursuant to NRZ section 3.17.6 and 6.6 at Fen Road in the I zone, industrial zone. Applicant Montana Knights Newington LLC, contact Stephen Jolly, owner of Fen Road 80 LLC. Application received 8/13/25, 65 days to open. Public hearing held by 10/17/25, hearing scheduled for 9/24/25. The applicant here, please come up, state your name and address for the record.
No, I'm gonna pull them up.
Thank you. Stephen Jolly, 130 Oak Ridge in Unionville. Thank you for hearing my application. I really don't have any new information from what we discussed 2 weeks ago. We're looking to add live entertainment at Montana Nights, including karaoke, trivia, DJs, small bands, really on off nights when there's not a lot of axe throwing going on. Axe throwing will still be the primary recreation event there. There will still be axe throwing going on even when we have live entertainment. In discussions with staff, we studied the parking. There is another tenant in that building, but they're closed during our open hours, especially during our busy hours. There's a total of 70 spots. In the past, we have sold out to capacity, about 250 people in a night, which is close to the fire marshal's rated capacity of 299. And we've had no parking issues. So we don't anticipate any parking issues going forward, adding live entertainment. We're also surrounded by other businesses that are closed when we're open. And so we don't anticipate any noise issues. All the live entertainment will be conducted indoors. There really isn't a lot of noise extension beyond the building walls itself. Beyond that, I'm open to any questions.
Any questions, commissioners? Commissioner Harpy.
What are your hours of operation for this?
So it varies in the weekdays, it's 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. On Fridays and Saturdays, it's 1 p.m. to midnight. During the busy season, which is the winter, we may stay open till 1 a.m. And on Sundays, we close at 8 p.m., 1 p.m. to 8 p.m.
And you're the force and control. In other words, you don't rent out to parties or.
So we have a party room there where we conduct private events, mainly for birthday parties or corporate clients. But we run that private room just like we do any of the other axe throwing events
I believe that's shown on his plan that he sent over earlier.
Yeah,
today.
the party room's in that top left corner. There, it has two axe throwing pits. When we have live entertainment, that'll still be open for axe throwing.
Good, thank you.
Any other question? Mr. Woods? Commissioner Minor, you have any questions?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, what's the commission's, okay, there you go. Anyone wishing to speak in support of this?
No one online has their hand raised, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Anyone wishing to speak against this petition? No one online?
No one has their hand raised, Mr. Chairman.
What's the commission's pleasure?
I don't know, I'll entertain a motion to close it. I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing and move it to old business.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Moving to second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank
We'll
you.
vote on tonight. Okay, next is approval of the minutes. I hear a motion for approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. New business. Okay, petition, TPZ petition 2518 special permit 3.15.6 for a place of physical activity for personal training at facility at 2434 Unit 9, Berlin Turnpike at a BT zone. Applicant Revolution Sports Club LLC owner, Trans Berlin Corporation. Robert Maybrook, applicant, revised 8/13/25, 65 days to open public hearing, then 17/25, hearing scheduled, then.
We just did that one.
Oh, we just did, okay, I'm sorry. All right, old business.
No. I'll make a motion. We move to approve special permit, petition TPZ dash 25-18. Reason for the approval is the application meets the requirements of the special permit criteria.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Set.
Good luck.
Good luck. Okay, old business. Petition TPZ petition 2516 site plan for a 40-unit rental home development under Connecticut General Statutes 830G affordable housing application at 220, 226, 224 Kitts Lane, 226 Kitts Lane rear in the BBT zone, Berlin Turnpike. Owner applicant Kitts Lane Apartments LLC. Contact Timothy Hollister. Application received 7/9/25, 65 days to open to public hearing. By 9/12/25, hearing opened 8/27/25, hearing continued 9/24/25.
Well, personally, I would like to move that we approve this tonight, but having said that, we don't have a motion.
Correct.
So
Yep.
I think it's gonna take some time for you to put the motion together.
Yep.
As much as, again, I would like not to postpone it, I don't think it's
Right.
fair to the applicant or to the staff to do this blindly. So if you can work this out at the next meeting, and I think, again, to be fair, prepare two motions, one for, one against.
Yep, and staff to that effect, I know there were a lot of conditions that were kind of proposed tonight, even by the applicant. We'll work together with that one. Are there any conditions that the TPZ would like potentially included in those? I know you could workshop those as well, but it would be a chance for me to kind of put that together.
Again, from my perspective, I think everything has been pretty much agreed to. I think this goes to show you that 8-30G is not necessarily a bad thing for a community. It could be a very good thing. When you have an applicant willing to work with us, if we turn this down, everything that I've heard tonight, it'll get turned around in court. We lose complete control. This way, if we do approve it, and I'm obviously in favor of this, we maintain control. So we don't end up with Cedar Street. But that's my fear. But again, I'm sure Attorney Moore wants this done as fast as he can, but I think to be fair to everybody here, if you guys could work it out, you're good with that? And if the commission is good with that,
So that'd be a motion to table it.
what day would we be voting on it? The next meeting.
Next meeting.
Yep, per statute, you have 65 days to make a decision, but it would be on your next meeting that we can give you some proposals for potential motions and you can kind of work through that.
Commissioner Fox, did you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a second. I agree with Commissioner Woods that, we both want to vote on it now. Now that I see that, that Chief Trauma was able to negotiate and agree with the applicants on safety concerning the fire department and the residents. So, since we did go through all those quote unquote changes this evening, I agree that we should that the staff should put together a good motion with whatever requirements it needs, and we'll vote on it next meeting.
Commissioner Woods?
So I make a motion that we table petition TPZ 25-16 until the next meeting, which is
That would be October 8th.
October 8th. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously, okay? All right, parking lot extension, Paul?
Yep, so there is in your staff report, it was noted that unfortunately applicant's petition got denied at the Conservation Commission. So they will have to reapply. They have chosen to withdraw. In front of this commission, again, it's very hard to move forward with a TPZ application when basically half of the property doesn't have a conservation approval. We'll continue to work with them as we go through this process. Again, noting that, yes, it is a temporary lot. Yes, they put it in without permission, but they put it in for an emergency situation to deal with cars that were parking everywhere. That was an issue for the fire marshal as well. So we're in the middle of this right now. We'll continue to work with them and hopefully bring back something to you soon. Unless there's any questions, the only thing I would ask is just a motion to accept the applicant's withdrawal.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, next one is petition 2519, modification of special permit. We didn't do this one.
No, we didn't do this one.
25-8, sorry. Petition TPC 25-19, modification of special permit 04-18 and 13-18 to allow live entertainment with existing recreational use with alcoholic beverages sale permitted pursuant to N-C-R section 3.17.6 and 6.6 at 80 Fen Road in the I industrial zone. Applicant Montana Nights, contact Stephen Jolly, owner Fen Road 80 LLC. Applicant received 8/13/25, 65 days to open to public hearing by 10/17/25. Hearing scheduled 9/24/25. Good. Commissioner Woods.
I move to approve the modification of special permit 04-18 and 13-18 for the addition of live entertainment under special permit petition TPC 25-19. Reason for the approval, the application meets the requirements of the special permit criteria.
Is there a second?
I second.
Move the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. All petitions for scheduling?
I don't believe I had anything under there yet. Right?
No.
Nope.
Okay.
That's that.
Now planners report.
I will spare you too much tonight and give you an update next time. Unless there's any questions you would like me to answer next time.
We didn't vote on it.
Thank you.
Did we vote? I thought we did. We voted on that last one, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
You voted.
Okay.
They're all set.
yes. Every application was voted on.
Yeah, you guys are, you're all good.
You're all good. Sorry.
What they want?
I'm sorry, Paul, town planners. Update.
Yep, I said I would spare you tonight. I will send out a notice about there is some additional training. Again, one of the meeting was tonight, that would have been, but another housing type of webinar. Actually, this one's an in-person meeting. I will send it out to the commission and kind of put it out there and also start looking for additional training opportunities.
Okay. And you'll let me know if everybody's caught up on ours.
Yep, I need to check that. We're coming up on that time.
Right, thank you. Communications from CROG, they were in here.
Yep.
Okay. And public participation, second round. Anybody wishing to speak on items that were not on the agenda?
No hands raised online, sir.
Okay. Commission, remarks by commissioners. Any remarks by any commissioners? Okay.
Can I go eat?
None. My closing remarks, thank you very much for being here. Unfortunately, we had a little hiccup in the beginning, but we're back to running again. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
For a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Steve.